What's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen. Get some.
It's a true story. This club is crazy because there was a point in my career where I wasn't getting booked a lot, I wasn't working a lot, and we were just going broke. Both our kids are 18 months apart, both in diapers, and the dude called, and he said, we were gonna lose the house. We're gonna lose our house, and then we went to the bank, and all our credit cards got shut down. I was like, fuck, we didn't have no money. We was done. I remember we were sitting in the car, we was in our car in the parking lot of the bank, and my wife's like, what are you gonna do? You get another job? I said, I'll make it. I'm gonna be a stand-up. And I got both the kids in the car seat, in the back of the car, and I'm like, I'll make it, I promise, I don't know how. The next day, I got a phone call to come to this club for $200. And it got us through the next week to get baby formula, to get diapers, and that's it. So to come back now and sell all the shows, this is crazy,
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some podcast. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/GaryOwenCom, or go to iTunes, search Gary Owen, #GetSome, or United We Cast. Or you know what? You can just find it. If you get it and you like it, share the links. Tell all your friends, tell your neighbors. Even if you don't like it, share it. Heck, I listen to stuff I don't like. I watch Fox News every now and then just because it's interesting to me to see another perspective. As you heard the opening to the show, I was on stage this past week in Ontario, California, which is about 40 miles east of Los Angeles. And it's just, I was on stage, and there's an improv there that it brought back a lot of memories because I sold out all my shows, and then we added a late show on Saturday. So we sold out the original 2, 4, 6 shows, and we added a 7th. And it was funny, Sunday night, I was getting done with my show, and it hit me. I go, man, 15 years ago in 2002, I had my stepson. He was in school, but I had my son, who's now 16, and my daughters who is now 15, both in diapers. They were 18 months apart. And me and my wife bought a house. This is before we got married. We had bought a house together back in 2000. I came into a little bit of money. Well, came in quite a bit of money, but it wasn't like millions. I came into a decent amount of money. And we went and bought a house. And long story short, the realtor kind of ripped us off. We were a young couple, saw us coming, and I didn't go broke because I bought jewelry or I bought a fancy car. No, we bought a house. We was trying to be responsible, and we got taken advantage of by a realtor. And without getting into it, the bank came along and was like, we're going to take the house, because I wasn't making enough money at the time to make the house payments, as well as now we got 2 kids in diapers and daycare. It was just a lot came on our plate at once. And for some reason, I hit a slow point in my career. I wasn't getting any movies. Wasn't on TV a lot. I mean, I was out there doing stand-up, but I wasn't getting booked like people think I'm getting booked. So every time I would come home with like a couple $1,000s from the weekend, that would go straight into the house and everything else, bills. And we got behind, and then the bank called and was like, we're taking your house. And my wife was like, I can't afford daycare. So we're sitting here like, we got no money. So what happened was, I had all our credit cards that gotten canceled. I had one credit card left. And me being a dumbass, I called the credit card company saying, hey, can I get an increase on my credit card? I had it for like 6, 7 years and never been late on the payment and all the other stuff. And they said, oh, we're looking at you right now. You're delinquent in all these other areas. And I went, but I'm not delinquent on this one. And me calling to get an increase on my balance made them cancel my last credit card. So if I would have just kept my mouth shut, I would have been all right. So now me and my wife are in the parking lot of Bank of America in Glendale, California. I'll never forget it. And she looked at me, and we got both kids in the back seat, both in car seats. And she says, what are we going to do? She goes, do I got to get a job? Then the kids got to be in daycare full time, because it was like part-time. They was in daycare. And I just told her, I said, I don't know. I said, I'm not going to get a job, because she asked me, what are you going to do? I said, something will happen. I said, the only thing I can control is I'm funny. I said, I know I'm funny, and I know it'll happen. And the next day, no lie, the next day, I got a phone call from the Ontario Improv where I was just at this weekend where I sold out 6 shows and added a 7th. And it was like a Wednesday. And they said, Gary, we need somebody tonight to headline the show, $200. And I said, done. So I didn't know I was going to make it as far as gas goes. So I think I collected change throughout the house and I filled up the gas tank with like quarters, nickels, dimes. I think I got like 30-some dollars of change all around the house. So I was able to put money in the car, went out to Ontario, and I always had these like bootleg looking CDs that I would sell on the road. And it's just this live from Tampa. And can actually get that CD, no lie, on I think it's on iTunes and everything else. You can find it. But I had it and I would sell it after my show. And it was crazy because I got the $200. But not only did I get the $200, but I was selling these CDs that I burned in my house before I drove to Ontario. And I'll never forget this Mexican guy came up and he was like, hey, Gary, how much for the CDs? And I was like, $10. He bought 15 of them. So that was $350. And I think I sold some more. So basically, I walked out there with $400. And I wasn't working that weekend, but it got us through that next week because the week after that, I was in Tampa at the Improv. And then I knew I would have a couple $1,000s coming in after that weekend. And I remember sitting in the hotel in Tampa. So the $400 is gone now. Like we got food. We had to do what we had to do with it, with the kids and everything. And now I'm sitting here. I'll never forget. I was sitting in my hotel. I'm just burning CDs. I had this portable CD burner that Gabriel Iglesias told me about. And I had it for a year or so. So I'm burning my CDs, that a bunch of CDs that I had bought blank CDs from like Best Buy or Office Depot or something. And I'm burning them. And I remember I was counting the money. I was like $10, $20. Every time I'd burn one, I'd be like, just got to sell these. And it got us through that little, rough patch. And then we end up getting rid of the house and went to a smaller house. And here's the terrible part of this story. We had a decent sized house, big house, but it sat on top of a hill outside of LA, little area called La Crescenta. And we bought a much smaller house. It was just like we went from like, I'm not going to say high on the hill, but we were on top of the hill. And the house we were renting after we got kicked out of the let's say the big house, we could see our old house. So every day I'd walk out the front door and I could see the old house. And it was just like, and we stayed there for a year. And then I was just like, we maintained. We weren't saving money, but we weren't putting money away. And that's when, after that year, I told my wife, I said, let's move back to Ohio. Let's move back to Cincinnati. I know the area, cost of living is a little cheaper. And I said, we'll just come back for 2 years. And if I feel like my career is missed in LA, so to speak, then we'll come back. And we've been back in Ohio ever since. And what I did know about the entertainment business is when they want you for a movie or a TV show, they fly you out and put you at really nice hotels. And I was like, I don't know why people live in LA. I'm flying first and I'm in a very nice hotel room when I get there. And I don't have to worry about traffic because there's somebody there to pick me up to take me to set. So it's just kind of one of them stories where I say people always ask comics like, what do I got to do to make it? And if you ask 100 comics what they had to do to make it, they'll give you 100 different stories. Like that story is from 2002. The first time I was on TV was 97. I got the hosting job on Comic View 98, 99. So people would think I'm doing great. And I was doing okay for a couple years, but then I hit a little lull in my career, and it happens. Like Jamie Foxx told me years ago, he said, entertainment business is the biggest temp job out there because there really isn't a lot of job security. You're up and down and up and down. And I just hit that point where I was down in like 2002, and I got that phone call for $200, which ended up being about $400, and it got us through. And I even before I started doing was ever on TV, not before I started doing stand up, before I ever got to LA, I'll never forget. I was in the military. I was in the Navy, and I just wanted to do stand up. I wanted to get to LA and do stand up. So I used to get off work. On the base in San Diego at 4 p.m. and I would drive for the 2.5 hours because I'd be stuck in traffic to get to LA. I get to LA usually about 6:30, maybe 7 if traffic was bad. And I would just go get something to eat and sit around at whatever comedy spot I was at that night. I would just sit around and usually I'd have like a 10 p.m. spot to 10:10, 10:15, 10:15 minutes. And then I'd drive back to San Diego, get up at 5, 6 in the morning, go to work. And then I'd do that again the next day. And I did that probably 3 days out of the week. And it was just because I was trying to get my name out there in LA. And I would lie to people all the time. I would lie to my military buddies and be like, yo, last night I saw Jim Carrey. Or last night I saw Eddie Murphy. And they'd be like, what? I was like, you want to ride with me? So I would get guys to ride with me and help me with the drive by lying to them. And then we get up to LA, we wouldn't see anybody. I was like, well, he was here last night. He was here yesterday. And I'll tell you the funniest story. I'm not going to say any names or anything. Don't want to throw anything under the bus. But I had one military buddy. He rode up in his own car. And I was riding up. I had an S10 pickup. And I'll never forget. He rode up with me and we hung out. And then we was driving back to San Diego. And he had met a girl from Australia at a bar one night. We was going out. And I'll never forget, we was driving back. And this is before everyone had cell phones. So we're driving back. And he kept trying to get my attention on the highway driving back to San Diego. And I look over. The Australian chick is just giving him a blowjob right there on the highway. And all I could see was his blonde hair everywhere. And he's like, give me the thumbs up. Like, he kept trying to get my attention, like, you ain't gonna believe this. I said, I make this drive all the time. That never happens to me. But he got it in, though. He got it in. I was proud of him. But I've always been a fan of Australia ever since then. I root for him in the Olympics. It's weird. So, any comic out there listening to this, man, I always say, man, you can never have a plan B in this business. Because if you have a plan B, you're setting yourself up not to make it. Because when I first started dating my wife, now my wife's an attractive lady. When I first started dating her, she was one of them chicks in Hollywood that all the ball players was trying to get with, all the A-list actors. And I just made her laugh. And she said she fell for me because I didn't have any extra agenda or I didn't have an angle. Because she was like, you know, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be a comedian. And she goes, well, what else? I said, that's it. She goes, you don't have like a plan B? I said, no, I'm going to be a comedian. I don't know what else you want me to say. I'm going to be a comedian. And she goes, just the look in my eyes was like, so like, this it. She knew. There wasn't like, I'm going to do this. I want a side hustle. Nah, I said, that's it. I'm out here to be a comedian. I ain't got no money right now, but I'm going to be a comedian. And even then she started dating me. But even then she was like, you know, you don't have a plan B because I have, I need 2 more general education classes to have my bachelor's, and I'll never get it. I'll never get my bachelor's because if I ever get it, I'm telling myself I was setting myself up not to make it as a stand-up. So I was taking all these college courses, and I was in the military, and I just stopped. With 2 classes left to get my bachelor's, I just stopped because I said I want to do stand-up. That was it. And I'll never get it. I'll never get my bachelor's because to me it was like, I'm just kind of setting myself up. And a lot of times, too, I noticed, too, in society, we put so much emphasis on college degrees. Like, you need a bachelor's to make it. And I'm not deterring people from going to college. But once you realize what your passion is and what you want to do in life, if it doesn't require a college degree, go after that. Go after that, whatever it is. If it doesn't need a degree, then it doesn't need it. Like a stand-up does not need a college degree. An actor does not need a college degree. Now, a writer might need to take some college English courses to make sure, and some writing classes. But, you know, there's some professions you don't need a college degree. I know a guy that is a mechanic, and he likes being a mechanic. I mean, he likes working on cars, and that's what he does. And there's another guy I know out here in Cincinnati has his own detail shop. And it's his now. He's got numerous employees. That's what he likes doing. Never went to college. That's probably why I don't get asked to talk to schools as much. Because I'm quick to tell them, man, if you want to be a lawyer, then you got to go to college. You want to be a teacher, then you got to go to college. But if you want to start a clothing line, a record label, if you want to be a comedian, I don't know, if you want to be a jockey, if you want to be a horse trainer, you don't have to go to college for that. If you want to start a restaurant, you don't have to go to college for that necessarily. So I think we put so much emphasis on that We don't allow kids to really pursue what they really want to do in life, because we think like if you don't go to college, then you're wasting your life or you're somewhat of a failure or people look down on you. Nah, that's what it is. That's what it is. You know, I stopped going because of that. I know. Keenan Ivory Wayans has a story where he dropped out of college because he said he wanted to be a stand-up. That's what he wanted to do. I don't know if you take nothing else away from that. And any comic, listen to this. Don't have a plan B, man. And it's a funny story how I got the hosting job on BET's Comic View, because I was doing stand-up in San Diego. They had a contest that we're looking for the funniest black comedian in San Diego. It was a radio call-in. And I called in. I didn't say I was black or wasn't black. I just called in. And I ended up showing up at the contest, and I won the contest. And first prize was an audition for BET's Comic View. So I drove up to LA, got on Comic View, and I kept winning all my rounds. And it ended up, the head of the network called me to his office a couple months later and said, "Hey, you want the hosting job?" And I was like, "Yeah." I still had like 6 months left on my enlistment in the Navy. And by the time we started filming, though, it was going to be 3 months later. So I had to get out 3 months early. Luckily, I had a cool command that when I went and told them, they worked with me and they were able to get me the time off to go film. And then eventually I was just honorably discharged. And then that's how I got the hosting job on Comic View. That got me headlining immediately on the road. And so I never had I had to open up for people and do all that stuff like other comics. But I felt like I paid my dues by making all those drives from San Diego to LA 3-4 times a week when I was active duty military. And it's funny because before I got out, they had this thing called the TAP class in the military. It's called Transition Assistance Program. And what it is the military used to just, you get out and they just send you home. So you're like just stuck. Now, or I don't know how it is. This is almost 20 years ago that I got out. When you got out of the military, they would have a week-long class, and all it was prepping you to get out. And then they would let you go home for like a couple weeks or a month and still have that military paycheck coming in. That way you go home and you have a little cash flow coming in till you get on your feet. Because you always see them homeless people on the side of the road, ex-military, need help. Well, the military, I think they got wind of that, so they try to help you getting out. But I was going through this TAP class, they call it. And I'll never forget, I was the last guy to stand up. There's probably about 50 people in the class, and everybody said the same thing. The lady that was in charge of it is like, "What are you guys going to do once you get out of the military?" And a lot of times what the military does, they scare you into staying in because they're like, "I don't know if, this is job security and, you got a good paycheck and you make more money every year. You're constantly getting raises, so to speak." And everyone said the same thing. They either said, "I'm going home, I'm going to college, or I'm going into law enforcement." That's the only 3 things I heard. And then I stood up and I said, "I'm going to be a comedian." And you saw everybody look. And then the lady goes, "Excuse me?" I said, "I'm going to be a comedian." Now, she didn't know I already had the job on BET right now. Even though I hadn't started filming it, I already had the job. So she pulls me aside after the first day of TAP class. "Are you sure you want to do that?" I said, yeah. So this is like a Monday. I invited her out like Tuesday to come see me at some local hole-in-the-wall spot. She actually came. She showed up Tuesday to my comedy show, and she came in Wednesday, and she pulled me aside before class. She goes, "I've never said this to anyone." She goes, "But you're making the right choice. You're making the right choice." And she even said, she goes, "It has nothing to do with how funny you are or anything." She goes, "I see it's in your eyes. It's your passion. It's what you love. I saw it." She goes, "I saw it in TAP class when you said I'm going to be a comedian, and then I saw you when you got on stage." She goes, "It's like you were at home." She goes, "You're funny." She goes, "But this has nothing to do with that." She goes, "I just saw it in your eyes. You were at home and you were happy." And somebody reminded me a couple months ago when I started doing stand-up in San Diego, I wasn't even going to comedy clubs. I was making up my own spots. Like there was a Tuesday night was this place called El Torito's, and they had karaoke. And I would just go up in the middle of karaoke and do like 5 minutes of jokes. Like people would be singing, they'd be like, "Next, Gary Owen." And I would just start telling jokes. And I would tell the host of the karaoke, I go, "Tell them I'm a comedian though." So the guy would be like, "Hey, we got a comedian." And, everybody was cool. And then Friday night, I would go to this place called Mr. O's. And literally in the middle of the nightclub, I would just get on the dance floor and start telling jokes. Like the DJ would stop playing. And then he'd say, "We got a comedian in the house." And I would just grab a mic and just start talking. And then I would go downtown San Diego on Saturday nights. And there was only one club open till 4 a.m. So everything else closed at 1:32. And the guy gave me $50 to stand outside his little club by the front door, and he'd give me a microphone, and he had a speaker out there, and I would just like almost talk smack, but I would get people to come in because we're open. His spot was open. So I would just do that for like 20 minutes, and he'd give me $50. And I thought I was rich. I was like, $50? Hell yeah. And I get free drinks if I want to go to that club or the little bar all night. $50? What? This is living, boy. Man, does it get any better in life? So that was Ontario, man. It brought back a lot of memories this weekend being in Ontario. Now, there's this upcoming weekend. I'm in Washington, D.C. with Dion Cole. The show's been sold out for like a month. It's at the MGM Grand Casino, brand new casino in Oxon Hill, Maryland, which is right outside of D.C. Now, the weekend after that, I'm in two cities. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, November 3rd at a place called the Florida Theater. Then November 4th, I'm in Ocala, Florida at the Riley Arts Center. Just go to GaryOwen.com if you're looking for tickets. Before I get into football, because I got to feel I'm going to go on a tangent. NBA season is here, and things aren't going quite like we thought. Golden State is started out 1-2. Houston isn't doing that great. Cleveland got spanked by Orlando to the point where they're moving Dwayne Wade to the bench. I don't know what that's all about. I'll get that. Talk about panicking a little bit. But I think the one thing that I think everybody saw coming, but it's coming to fruition, is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't even know if I said that right. This dude is the next coming. What I hope happens, I hope Giannis stays in Milwaukee. Me being a Cincinnati guy, I love seeing the small market teams just take out the big boys. I love it. And I would love for him to stay in Milwaukee and make that like LeBron made Cleveland the spot to be. I would love for that to happen because Milwaukee deserves it. Milwaukee's a cool city, and they're kind of like Chicago's little stepbrother. But, God, they haven't really been – I mean, they were a little relevant when Big Dog Robinson was there and Ray Allen, and they took the Sixers to 7 games in 2001. They were in the mix all the time, but they really haven't been in the mix almost since Kareem was there. If you just want to be honest. I mean, they're always like teasing people, but they really haven't. But I would love for him to stay there and have people go play. Who wouldn't want to play with him? He's 22. He does everything. And the only thing he doesn't have is a 3-point shot. And if you're going to take everything like court vision, hops, height, athleticism, the one thing you can teach somebody is how to shoot. You could teach somebody how to shoot. I've already told the Vince Carter story. You can't teach somebody how to jump. You can't teach somebody how to be 6'11". You can't teach anybody to see the court. If you got court vision, you got it. But I hope, not this year. I'm hoping Cleveland takes it this year. But I hope in a couple of years that baton gets passed from LeBron to him, and he just takes over the league because he's fun to watch too. And he seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he just gets it. And I like Jason Kidd as a coach. I like what they're doing in Milwaukee. What I'm not too fond of is LeVar Ball. God, I'm okay with everything he's done. But when your son, game 1, gets schooled by Patrick Beverley, and then the next game he has a great game against the Phoenix Suns, who, by the way, is the worst defensive team in the NBA. A lot of people are going to have great games against the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns is got to be, I think, their most dysfunctional team in the NBA. Because you got Eric Bledsoe asking to leave. They're firing their coach after the 3rd game. And if you don't like the city of Phoenix, you don't like America. That's a great city. And that's a great city to live in as a young male with millions of dollars in your pocket, which basically everyone in the Phoenix Suns have. I don't know anybody don't like Phoenix. I mean, who doesn't want to stay there? And the facility's great. It's right downtown in the heart of everything. It's a great city. It's one of my favorite cities in the country. And if you want out of there, good Lord. Can you imagine? Like, I want out of Phoenix. And then they trade you and you go to New Orleans. And New Orleans is cool, but it ain't Phoenix. You go to Sacramento. Oh, okay, this is great. Really glad I made this choice. But the fact that LeVar Ball, you could talk smack when your son does something, but when he gets schooled, and there's going to have nights like that, he's a rookie, just give Beverly his props. He didn't even give Beverly his props. He just said, this is the last interview you'll see of him. And then he tried to say, like, well, Patrick Beverly ain't got no shoe. And somebody had said, I don't know what shoe he was wearing, but he put his foot in your son's ass with those shoes. And I tell you what, talking about the Clippers, it's funny how sometimes you eliminate somebody. I love Chris Paul. I think he's an asset to any team. But sometimes you alleviate the alpha male, so to speak, and then other guys can flourish. And it looks like Blake Griffin feels like the weight of the world is off his shoulders. He's like, oh, it's my team. I'm making all the calls now. I'm having fun. I mean, I think the biggest surprises so far, and it's early, is the Clippers and Memphis. Memphis is undefeated. And Memphis is beating the big dogs. Like, and it's the same thing. They got rid of Tony Allen. They got rid of Zach Randolph and even Vince. I love Vince, but Vince wasn't that dude. But they got rid of their two big dogs that you had to feed the ball in. And Tony Allen, he didn't need the ball, but he took a lot of energy. I mean, there's a lot of energy on the court. And they still got Gasol. And it looks like Mike Conley's like, okay, this is my team. And they got a lot of young guys coming in. It's, Memphis is a lot better than they thought. And the Clippers. And it's funny because Clippers lose CP3. And then Memphis gets rid of like 4 or 5 guys that was taking up a lot of minutes. And it's like you never can tell. I see it happen more in college basketball than I do the NBA. Because I remember Keith Van Horn was with Utah. And then he leaves. And then they go to the Final Four the next year with Andre Miller and Doliak. Here's a great Utah Jazz story. A great one. And I don't know if I've told it before, but when Brian Russell was with the Jazz, the NBA had the strike, the 98-99 season. And I went there. Brian had he was having a New Year's Eve party, and I went to Utah to go play. And not to go play, I was hosting his New Year's Eve party, and the NBA players were not allowed to have organized activities through the team, but they could all come together and play pickup ball. So Brian picked me up one morning, and I went to go watch all these guys play pickup. It was like Ike Austin, Doliak was there. Andre Miller was still at Utah. Just John Stockton, Shandon Anderson, Chris Morris, like all those guys was with the great Jazz teams. I don't remember. John Stockton was there, but not Jeff Hornacek. He wasn't there. But I also remember you had all these big brothers there, and maybe 1 or 2 white dudes, but that were big. And then they only had 9 guys. And Brian goes, gee, you want to run? I was like, hell yeah. I was in my early 20s. And Stockton was like, no, we're just going to wait. And I was like, what? John Stockton wouldn't let me run because it was all NBA guys and me. And he was just like, dude, I'm trying to get ready for the season. I'm not going to have basically 4 on 5.5, 4.5 on 5. I'm going to give myself a half. It ain't going to be 4 on 5, but I'm giving myself a half. And I was like early 20s at the time, so I had a lot of energy, but I was so excited, and then it just came crushing down like, come on, man. But I got it. Looking back on I get it. But what was funny was another brother showed up eventually, and so then they had 10 guys. So they were picking teams to make it even. And it was just so funny because you had all these tall brothers and everything, and they were arguing over, that ain't fair, man. You got John, though. That ain't fair. You got John. The smallest white guy out there was making the teams uneven. Like the brother's like, no, but you got John. That don't matter. We got him, but you got John. It was just funny because if you didn't know, you would have never thought all these big brothers were like, it ain't fair because the 6-foot white dude is on your team, even though we got 3 6'8" brothers on ours. It just ain't fair. So I don't know. I got sidetracked. Sorry, that happens a lot on my podcast. But NBA season is in full swing. I've seen it before. You can start the season on fire, but in the end, it all works out. The teams that we know are going to be good. Golden State's going to be there in the end. Cleveland's going to be there in the end. I think Boston will be there in the end. Milwaukee for sure, as long as the Greek god, the Greek freak, is healthy, they're going to be there in the end. Houston will be there. I'm anxious to see how Memphis and LA work out. LA's the one. They look like they got a deep squad, and they look like they like each other. And they're going to play some defense, like hard defense, All right, let me take a deep breath. The Bengals lost to the Steelers again, 8 of the last 9. I didn't realize it was that bad. I knew it was 4 of the last 5, but I didn't know it was 8 of the last 9 that we've lost to Pittsburgh. And I went on a rant on my Instagram page. And it followed me on Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat. My name is Gary Owen Comedy on there. And I just went on a rant. And I was just like, I just hate when I love the build up to the Pittsburgh week when Cincinnati plays them. But once the game gets going, it's like it's always the same. It's always the same. Bengals play with them in the first half. And then the second half, I don't know what happens. We just come out flat. I don't know if we're out coached. I'm not going to act like I know what's going on, but it never works out. We were up 29 last year in Cincinnati. Pittsburgh came back and stomped us. This year, It's 14-all. We kept matching. I'm like, okay, we got it. Our offense is here. Pittsburgh goes up 17-14. We get the ball. A little over 2 minutes left. We go 3 and out. Pittsburgh get the ball, drive it right on the field. Kick a field goal for halftime. It's 20-14. We get the ball in the second half, 3 and out. I go, that's it. We're done. And we were. The only bright spots I saw, William Jackson was D'ing up Antonio Brown. That was obvious. Joe Mixon looked good for the 7 carries he got. Then they stopped giving him the ball. I don't know what that's all about. When you saw Pittsburgh give Le'Veon Bell the ball 35 times, I'm like, I think that's what we should be doing with Mixon, because he's going to have some 1 or 2 yard runs, but let him get a shot to break one, because he looks like he's so big, people are going to get sick of tackling him. So, but 7 carries ain't going to get sick of nothing. It's frustrating. When you're down and out, there's nothing better than a bad team coming to your city, and Indianapolis is coming this week. If we don't beat them, I say you just blow the team up after that. Get rid of everybody. If we can't beat Indy this week, that's a sad state of affairs. I'm not going to vent too much on the Bengals. I'm depressed, man. Oh, God. I tell you, every week I'm going to get my Super Bowl picks, and this is the first week they're completely changing. I hate even saying this, but in the AFC, it's Pittsburgh's playing the best. Fucking hate this. I hate my life. I hate even saying. I'm trying to avoid it. I wasn't even looking forward to get my Super Bowl picks this week, but it is what it is. And it's crazy in the NFL. Things can change so fast. Because 2 weeks ago, they got spanked by Jacksonville. Ben said, I don't know if I can do it anymore. Blah, blah, blah. And they go to Kansas City, and I saw it coming. God dang it. Just when you think Pittsburgh and New England, those 2 teams, when you think they're out, because I don't remember 3 years ago, New England played Kansas City and got stomped on Monday night. And everybody's like, that's it. Tom Brady got old. Time to blow up the team. Time to bring in somebody else. And then they played Cincy the next week and just stomped us. And I saw it coming. Just like this. Pittsburgh gets stomped by Jacksonville a couple weeks ago. It's over. Disarray. And then, boom. They beat Kansas City. They beat us. Now everything's great. 5-2. Baltimore looks like they're falling apart. Cincy ain't playing with a damn. So I'm right now, Pittsburgh and Philly. It could be a Pennsylvania Super Bowl this year in Minnesota. Now but I will say this. The last time Pittsburgh and Philly were both really good like this, what happened was Pittsburgh was playing New England in the AFC Championship, and Philly was playing the St. Louis Rams in the NFC Championship. And everybody's like, it could be a Pittsburgh-Philly Super Bowl, and it ended up being New England and the Rams. That was the last time both those teams were good like that. That was pre-T.O. days. It was pre-T.O. Owens. I was looking at the scores of the Cleveland Browns because they're 0-7, and they've been in every game but 2. They've been right there. They almost beat Pittsburgh week 1. I mean, Cincy blew them out, and then one other team blew up. But they've been there. They almost beat Tennessee this week. Their defense is not terrible. It really isn't. But it was funny because this week, Deshaun Kaiser got caught on Snapchat out Friday night at a nightclub. Doesn't show him drinking or anything, but he's out late on a Friday night at a nightclub. I think it says a lot because your quarterback, you don't want him to be out, and you don't want him trying to be cool. You want a geek damn near. You look at Brady, you look at Russell Wilson, you look at Peyton Manning, you look at Matt Ryan, you look at all the great, I bet you Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson. Those guys aren't out during the season on Friday and Saturday. They're not. And just the fact that he was, I think that says a lot about him. To me, I'm like, he's got to go. He's not our starter. That's a backup. He's not focused on what he should be focused on. And I love it when they say, what was he doing out? What was he doing out on a Friday night? And he's got a Sunday game. I go, chasing pussy? That's what he was doing. I love it when the ESPN and the Fox Sports and everybody goes, what was he doing out? Trying to get laid. He's 21. He's got $1 million in the bank. And he's single. He's trying to get laid. That's what he's doing. Why is everybody act stupid when they see stuff like that? I was like this. If I'm Hugh Jackson, I'm like, Deshaun, what do you want? We'll get it. We'll send it to your room. We'll find somebody. We got people for that. You don't want to be out in the street. Let us know. We'll find somebody. I'm sure the NFL's got a nice little stable. You ain't the first. NFL players' off days are Tuesdays. So what you have is you have Monday. Here's when you got to go out as an NFL player. You got Sunday night after the game. That's a good time to let off steam. Win or lose, it's a good time to let everything off. You got Monday night because Tuesday is your off day. So you have really the NFL during the season, if an NFL player, you have Sunday nights and Monday nights to let off steam. Every other day a week, no, you got to come in early. You got to be focused on the game. I'm not one of these guys who's like, I don't expect you to stay in every night. Focus on the game. Sunday nights and Monday nights are when you let off steam, however you want to let it off. I don't know if you want to go to nightclub and get drunk. I don't care. You want to go out with your boys. You want to go to Topgolf. Those are the nights. Every other night, go out to dinner, do what you want to do, but don't be out late. Don't be out late, especially if you're the quarterback. I don't think people give NFL quarterbacks enough credit by how smart they have to be. Those are the smartest guys on the team because you got to know everybody on offense, what they're supposed to do, and then whatever defense is being played, you have to know what they're running to tell everybody on offense what they're going to run. Those guys are, if you ever see an NFL playbook, it's like learning another language. I'm not that smart, honestly. I am not that smart. I'm not even going to lie and be like, I can pick up. No, I can't. But quarterbacks, man, that is the one position you don't know. You just don't know until they get to the league. You think, but the game just is so fast, and a lot of guys physically have it, but it's just mentally, the game might be too fast for them. And I'm not even mad at those dudes because I'm like, it'd be too fast for me. It'd be too fast for me. So it's funny if you listen to all my podcasts, I give Super Bowl picks every week, and it's changed tremendously from week one. I'll tell you that. But anyways, those are my picks. NBA season's back. College basketball is starting pretty soon. It's the World Series. It's a great time to be a sports fan. No matter what sport you like, it's being played right now. Baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Everything's being played right now. There's going to be some UFC fights. There's some boxing matches. It's just a good time to be a sports fan right now. Because even I'm thinking, the Bengals are not doing that great. But I'm like, hold on. UC and Xavier's going to be good in college basketball. Me being a Cincinnati, I'm like, I got them to look forward to. And I'm already watching college football looking for the draft. I'm like, who do we want? I tell you what, big game this week, Ohio State and Penn State. I said last week Ohio State's peaking. Penn State dismantled Michigan. Dismantled them. That's going to be a great game. I don't know who's going to win, but I'm not predicting a close game. It's going to be a blowout. I'm looking forward to it. All right, y'all. Well, I had a good time this week. To all the struggling comics out there, please listen to this podcast the first 10, 15 minutes. And just know, don't have a plan B and don't ever quit because that phone call could come. That phone call came from me for $200, and it felt like $2 million because I needed it at that time. I needed it. And the 200 ended up turning to 400 because I had burned CDs I could sell afterwards. And I don't know who that Mexican dude was that bought 10. No, he bought 15. He bought 15 for $10 a piece. It was $150. I'll never forget it. I was like, dang, he just gave me $150. And he was just passing them out. He was passing them out to his homeboys when they were leaving. Hey, I got it. It was $10. Like it was nothing. Man, thank you. I came home, called my wife, like, I'm stopping at Jack in the Box and getting 2 tacos for 99 cents because I got the money. 2 tacos were so tasty on the way home. Oh, my God. They were so tasty. So, anyways, I'll see y'all next week, man. Hopefully the Bengals win and I'm in a better mood, but we'll see what happens, man. All right, this is Gary Owen with the Get Some podcast. See y'all next week.